guys, welcome back to See Joe Go. Where are we going today? All right, so today we're gonna head over to Denmark, Copenhagen. Can I find it here? I think it's da 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 da. Can you guys see it right here, Copenhagen? So as you can see, geography lesson. Copenhagen is right between the North Sea and the Baltic Sea, and it is in an area called Scandinavia, attached to Europe, very very close to Berlin. So, guys, why did it take me so long to go to Denmark? That's the question I asked myself. It was amazing. So, I guess that's a spoiler, but I loved Copenhagen. It was my first time in Scandinavia, and I hope it won't be my last because I quite liked it. So, let's get in and talk about why I liked Copenhagen. The first thing that comes to mind when I think about Copenhagen is clean. Like, I didn't even know it was a thing, but when I was there, I was actually challenging myself to find some litter on the floor because there was none. I feel like Copenhagen has eradicated bacteria and dirt and everything. I don't know what they did, but it is so clean, like stellar. I went inside the train station and I was like, I've never been inside a metro that is so clean. I mean, yes, I would say Vienna rivals it.
This is just a video to show how bougie Vienna is. It's very bougie. Like, this is the subway and it's super clean. You know, subways are like not usually clean.
But Copenhagen tops it in terms of just cleanliness. So what I didn't know was that Copenhagen actually, like, that's one of their missions, to create like a clean environment, and they've really achieved it, as listed as one of the cleanest cities in the world. So they have like low emissions of like fossil fuels, and so they have low emissions of like harmful gases. Their harbor is clean enough for you to swim in, and it's just super clean. So that just really won me over. I think that's one of the highlights of Copenhagen. The other thing that really stood out to me was the food. Now, it's kind of weird because the food there wasn't like groundbreaking. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, like, you know, the most gourmet food in the world, but it was like hearty, homey things that probably your grandma would serve you. So I really enjoyed I know our pronunciations are not going to be right, but I really enjoyed the grot. Is that what it's called? It's like porridge. It's an oatmeal porridge, and there's actually a store there called Grod, which is where I'd recommend that you try Grod. And you can have like different toppings. I've never had like toppings on my oatmeal like that. So I had a plum compote, which was so good because it was tart. Then there was like a very smooth caramel topping. So there was a good balance of like tart and sweet. And then I also had toasted almonds, which was crunchy and salty. And I think there was something else I had on it. Oh yeah, fresh apples. So that added like a crispy tartness, sweetness. It was so good. And then the bottom, the actual base is so creamy and so satisfying and filling. It was like a great breakfast to have. So grot is something you want to try. Then there's also smørbrød. Don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but it's basically an open face sandwich. And they're like works of art. Like when you look at it in the little counters, it's just so beautiful. You're like, I could stand here and admire this for a really long time. But you know, I'm a foodie, so of course I could. So yeah, those are two things I recommend. Also burgers. No, that would sound like burgers really, but yeah, it's a thing in Copenhagen to have burgers, and they have like some really popular chains like Gasoline Grill and also sliders. I opted for sliders because I could get different types of sliders, and they had some really gourmet options. If you go check out the blog, I will list it for you, like what I tried, and it was pretty good. What else do you have? Oh, rum balls are also quite popular. You know, like what, really? Because, you know, Jamaica rum all the way over in Denmark, rum balls are a thing, but they are. And then what else do you have in Denmark? Those are some of the things. Those are some of the top things that you would try, right? Oh yeah, lobster roll. I forgot about that. Lobster roll is also, because they're so like close to the seas, right? North Sea and Baltic Sea, that getting fresh seafood is a thing. And where I am in Germany, right, the parts of Germany I don't really get a lot of fresh seafood. So that was a treat to be able to have lobster. I actually had lobster when I went to Denmark. It was the first time in years, like probably 5 years, I had lobster. So that was a welcomed treat. Okay, so what do you do in Copenhagen? All right, so Copenhagen is very sophisticated, right? Very sophisticated. And so there are lots of like museums and a lot of quite a bit of palaces, right? So Amalienborg Palace is somewhere you'd want to go if you're into palaces and that type of a thing. The royal family, Denmark's royal family, they do have a royal family, resides in that area. It's like a complex of like different royal buildings. And at Amalienborg Palace, if you go at 12, we happen to be there at that time, there's a changing of the guard, which is, you know, if you're into palaces and monarchy and stuff like that, then that's quite fascinating for you, just to see persons like moving in uniformity and, you know, how hard I'm sure these guards practice to get this right. So you can go and you can see like the traditional attire of these guards, like the bear skins, the big bear skin hats, and it's quite a neat experience. And they march, you know, for quite a distance, and you can actually get kind of close. That was the closest I've ever been to a changing of the guard, so that was pretty neat. The fact that you can actually follow them and everything. So the changing of the guard at Amelienburg Palace. Amelienburg Palace is a pretty place to visit. On the way, I also saw the Marmarkirchen, which is like a marble church. And that's also a pretty sight. You could take some pictures there. That's nice to look at. Other things that you want to see, you could see the Little Mermaid. If you're into, you know, fairy tales, then you can see the Little Mermaid. That's where the whole origins of her began. Also, Nijhaven is a beautiful place to visit. It's like the iconic picture of Copenhagen. So you have to go there for like a photo op, right? It's colorful, like old-fashioned houses. And it's right in front of a canal where you can get canal cruises, and you can get like drinks and food. And although it's really expensive in the Nijhaven area, so you may want to just get food somewhere else and probably just get a drink. But you can do the canal tours, and you can get to see different parts of Denmark. It's actually a great way if you're only in Copenhagen for a short time. It's a great way to see some of the main sites and to see it quickly. In just that, like, the cruise is about 1 hour, right? The canal tour is about 1 hour. So that's another thing to do. If you're into shopping, and especially high-end shopping at that, or if you just like to window shop, then you could go to, there's this popular street where you can go and you will see some of the, you know, top names, and you can go there to enjoy that. If you're traveling with kids, Lego Guys originated in Denmark, not in Copenhagen, but in Billund. And if you weren't able to go to Billund, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, I'm sorry. If you weren't able to go to Billund, then you could, you know, get a Lego experience, an authentic Lego experience by visiting the Lego flagship store, and I'm sure your kids will enjoy that. Now I saved the best for last. My favorite part of Copenhagen, I guess the kid in me just came alive. It was actually Tivoli Gardens. Now, Tivoli Gardens is a very old amusement park. I think, if I'm not mistaken, this is the second oldest amusement park in the world. And it is said that Walt Disney actually went to Denmark and got his inspiration to build the Disneyland parks from the parks there, right? And so Tivoli Gardens, I've never been to Disneyland, but I really felt like, hey, I got a taste of Disney at a much lower price, right? So Tivoli Gardens it was a vibe. It was just, I just came alive, you know. There's so much going on there. I mean, they have like this marching band that performs like every couple of hours or every hour or so. Have live shows that you can attend. There's a whole aquarium where you can take your kids to see different, like, sea animals. There are, of course, various rides, you know, from roller coasters to just a little train ride for, you know, a little adventure for the younger kids. The different, like, spinning rides are more adventure rides that are a bit more scary. There's a game arcade. There's food and food and food, which, of course, you know, that captured my attention. That's where I got the lobster roll. And they have this very cute cake boutique throughout Copenhagen called Copenhagen, which I think is so clever. And they have a branch in Tivoli Gardens. So some of the, like, more prominent stores or chains in Copenhagen have a branch in Tivoli Gardens. It's a great way to have two experiences in one, food and entertainment. There's also like a little river there, or a little lake, where you could do some canal tours, and it's just a really great place if you want an adrenaline rush. I would say spend a whole day there though, because there's so much to do. It is kind of pricey compared to like other things you could do in Denmark, but I think it's a fair price for what you get. But just, you know, be prepared to budget out a day and quite a bit of money for the experience at Tivoli Gardens. But I would say totally go, even if you're just going as adults. It's very relaxing, it's very fun, it's beautiful. They have these lovely, like, buildings that light up. Some of them have a kind of more Asian type of feel. It's really fun. So I would say go for Tivoli Gardens, of course, if you go to Copenhagen. There's also a lookout tower that you can climb to see a view of the city, but we opted not to do that. We really spent a lot of time at Tivoli Gardens, and I don't regret it at all. So in terms of Copenhagen, also transportation, I would say, guys, go on foot and also use the public transportation. You don't really need to take a taxi. We took a taxi from the airport because it was quite late when we got in, but we kind of regretted it because it was quite expensive, and it was around the same time as if we had taken the train. So yeah, I mean, we got the comfort, but you know, it wasn't any shorter. So I would say public transportation, because it's very reliable, it's very clean, it's a pleasant experience. So go for that if you go into Copenhagen. I think that's everything, right? Is there anything else that you'd like to know about Copenhagen? The downside, because of course nowhere is perfect, is it's expensive. It's very expensive. So yeah, it's expensive. And I think the other thing is that I felt it just could be me because I wasn't there for a very long time, but it could just be me. I felt like the attractions were somewhat limited. If you're not really into museums, I felt like after you go to Tivoli Gardens and then there's another amusement park you could go to. There's also a zoo. And there are other things, but I felt like the core attractions, I felt like it was kind of not that many. I mean, if it's warm, you could go and swim in the harbor, but we went in the autumn or the fall, so we couldn't swim. But that was one thing. I kind of felt like, okay, I feel like I'm running out of things to do. I feel like we got through everything quite fast. So I don't know, I could be wrong. If you have had a different experience, or if you know other things that are probably, maybe not as known that you could do in Copenhagen, then I would love to hear them in the comments so that I could share them and other people can benefit from them. And that if I get to go back, I could do them. So that's my recommendation. Would I say visit Copenhagen? Yes, 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 yes. It's so weird because like when people think of coming to Europe, I don't think Copenhagen is one of the places that people say, oh, I should go to. But for sure, if you're into sophistication, if you want some good, comforting food, if you want to be around polite, well-mannered, ordered people, I mean, yes, the people were very friendly. We got great customer service everywhere we went. Um, so I would highly recommend Copenhagen. It actually felt somewhere that was quite livable. Like I felt like I could live here. It was really nice. I really liked it. So if those are some of the things that you value or that you think you'd enjoy, then I definitely say Copenhagen. Go for it. So guys, see you next time and let's see where we'll go to next. Bye.